Something important is moving toward you, and it has been moving for much longer than you realize. Before you continue listening, take a moment and become fully present. What you are about to hear is not random. It is not a coincidence. It is not something your imagination created. For a long time, you have been sensing something beneath the surface. You may have questioned it. You may have tried to explain it away. You may have convinced yourself that you were reading too much into small moments. But deep down, a part of you never stopped noticing. A part of you never stopped feeling that something was there. Your intuition has been speaking quietly for a long time, not through loud signs or dramatic events, but through small feelings, subtle moments, and gentle impressions that stayed with you even after everything else faded. Even when you tried to ignore those feelings, they stayed. Even when you focused on other things, they returned. Even when logic told you to move on, something inside you continued paying attention. Very soon, someone may speak words that confirm what you have already sensed for a long time, and when that moment arrives, you may not feel shocked or surprised. Instead, you may feel something quieter: relief, recognition, a calm understanding, like something you already knew has finally become visible. Because the truth is, you felt it before there was any proof. You felt it before explanations existed. You felt it before conversations ever happened. You felt it before there was anything solid to point to. There was simply a quiet knowing inside you that stayed present. Sometimes it showed up as a pull toward a certain person. Sometimes it appeared as a sudden thought that came without any reason. Sometimes it felt like warmth in your chest that you could not fully explain. You may have noticed moments when a name appeared in your mind unexpectedly. You may have found yourself thinking about someone at strange times. You may have realized that certain memories stayed longer than they should have. And no matter how hard you tried to push those experiences away, they always came back. This is because intuition does not work like logic. Logic demands proof. Logic wants certainty before it believes. Logic needs clear answers. Intuition works differently. It notices patterns before the conscious mind understands them. It senses movement before anything becomes visible. It gathers quiet information from small details that are easy to miss. Because of this, intuition often knows things long before the mind can explain them. For a while, you may have doubted yourself. You may have told yourself that you were imagining things. You may have searched for reasons to dismiss what you felt. You may have questioned your own perception many times. But even with all of that, the feeling never fully disappeared. It stayed somewhere beneath the surface, quiet, steady, and patient, not forcing itself forward, not demanding attention, just waiting for the right moment to become clear. And that waiting has lasted longer than you realize, because what is approaching did not begin recently. This has been building slowly over time. While you were focused on your daily life, something else was unfolding quietly in the background, almost invisibly. Someone has been carrying thoughts they never fully expressed. Someone has been holding back words they wanted to say, but could not bring themselves to speak. Someone has been dealing with emotions they did not fully understand, and this has not been easy for them. Many people think silence means nothing is there, but often the opposite is true. Silence can mean something is too important to say lightly. Sometimes people stay quiet because they fear changing something valuable. Sometimes they stay silent because they are afraid of rejection or being misunderstood. So instead of speaking, they wait. They hesitate, they think, they observe. And while they hesitate, time keeps moving forward. This person may have thought about you far more than you realize. They may have noticed details others missed. They may have remembered small conversations you considered unimportant. Things that seemed small to you may have been meaningful to them. Moments you forgot may have stayed alive in their mind. Words you barely remember saying may have remained with them for a long time. More than once they may have come close to speaking. More than once the words may have almost come out. But each time, fear interrupted them. Fear is powerful. It convinces people to wait, to believe there will be a better time, that silence is safer, that tomorrow will be easier. But tomorrow often becomes another tomorrow, and then another, until silence becomes heavier than the truth it hides. Your intuition may have already sensed this struggle. Even without direct words, something may have felt unfinished between you. There may have been moments when the connection felt stronger than the actual conversation. Moments when silence felt full of meaning. Moments when a simple interaction stayed in your mind longer than expected. And unspoken truth does not disappear. It continues moving quietly beneath the surface, searching for expression, waiting for the right moment to come forward. That is why certain connections are hard to forget. That is why some people stay in your thoughts even after they are no longer present. There is often something unfinished that remains in the background of awareness, and maybe that is what you have been sensing all along. Not fantasy, not imagination, not wishful thinking, but a quiet awareness of something not yet fully revealed. Now, something is beginning to shift. The energy around this situation is changing. What once felt stuck is starting to loosen. What once felt blocked is beginning to move. The hesitation that once felt permanent is becoming weaker. Because people can only carry unspoken truth for so long, eventually truth becomes easier than silence. Eventually speaking becomes more powerful than holding back. And when that moment arrives, everything can change in a short time, sometimes with only a few words. If this message is already stirring something inside you, take a moment to notice that feeling. Sometimes a message feels strong, not because it is giving new information, but because it is pointing to something you already sense deep down. What you are beginning to understand goes beyond a single confession. It is not only about another person, it is also about you, your awareness, and how often you have felt things before they became visible. Life is not preparing to surprise you with something completely unknown. Instead, it is moving toward confirming something you have already been sensing for a long time, and that difference matters. Because what this person is realizing is deeper than simple emotion. They are realizing that what they felt never fully disappeared, that distance did not erase connection, that silence did not end what was still active inside them. They may have tried to move on, focused on other parts of life, other distractions, but the feelings remained, the thoughts remained, the questions remained, and carrying all of that became heavier than telling the truth. That is why this moment matters, not only for them, but also for you, because unfinished situations affect both sides, and now something in that connection is moving toward clarity. When the truth finally arrives, something begins to clear inside you. What once felt heavy and confusing slowly begins to shift. The uncertainty that once took up so much space in your mind starts to dissolve. Your clarity comes back, your confidence comes back, your trust in yourself starts to rise again. It may feel quiet at first, almost subtle, but it is important. Because sometimes the most meaningful changes are not loud or dramatic, they are steady and deep. And within that movement, you may begin to understand something very important. Your intuition was not misleading you. Your emotional awareness was not a weakness. Your sensitivity was not a flaw that needed fixing. It was a form of quiet perception that was working for you all along. You were noticing something real even when you could not fully explain it. You were sensing patterns before they became clear. You were feeling shifts before they had words attached to them. You may look back and realize that you were picking up on things before they had a clear shape. You were recognizing a truth before it had language. And many people go through life ignoring this inner sense. They doubt themselves, they dismiss their instincts, they assume that only visible evidence can be trusted, that only what can be proven or shown is real. But life often teaches a different lesson over time. Sometimes awareness arrives first, and understanding comes later. Sometimes the heart recognizes a reality before the mind can explain it. And sometimes you simply know something is off or something is changing even before you can logically say why. That is why this kind of moment carries so much importance. It does not only confirm what someone else feels or says, it also confirms something within you. It confirms that your ability to sense and understand was working all along. If you think about everything you have experienced recently, you may start to see a pattern. The emotional growth you have gone through, the lessons in patience you have learned, the moments of uncertainty you had to sit with, the times you wanted answers but could not get them, the periods where you had to let go of control even when it felt uncomfortable. None of those experiences were wasted. Even if they felt difficult at the time, they were shaping something inside you. Each experience was preparing you. Each moment was helping you build more inner strength. Each challenge was teaching you how to remain steady even when the future was unclear. Slowly, you were learning how to stand on your own foundation without needing constant reassurance. You were learning how to find peace even without immediate answers. You were learning how to trust yourself again, step by step, even when things felt uncertain. Because of that growth, you are now able to receive the truth from a different place inside you, not from desperation, not from fear, not from emotional need, but from stability. And that shift changes everything about how you experience clarity when it finally arrives. When honesty finally comes forward, it is important to understand something clearly. Honesty does not automatically create a perfect outcome. Truth does not guarantee a perfect beginning or ending. What honesty provides is clarity. It replaces confusion with understanding. It replaces assumptions with facts. It replaces guessing with awareness. And once you have awareness, something very important becomes available to you: choice. You become free to decide what happens next. You are no longer reacting to guesses or imagination. You are no longer filling in missing pieces in your mind. You are no longer searching endlessly for hidden signs or meanings. Instead, you are responding to what is real and what is directly in front of you. And this is where a deeper kind of strength begins to show itself. Real strength is not about controlling other people or forcing outcomes to happen in a specific way. It is not about trying to make life follow a perfect plan. Real strength is something quieter and more grounded. It comes from seeing clearly and then acting with self-respect. It comes from staying steady regardless of what happens next. It comes from trusting your own worth even when situations are uncertain. If you are listening to these words and feeling emotion rising within you, it is worth paying attention to that feeling. Not because it is predicting the future, but because it is revealing something about your inner world. Emotion often points toward what matters most to us. It shows where our heart is invested even when we are not fully aware of it. If instead you feel calm while hearing this message, that calm also has meaning. Genuine truth often creates peace rather than panic. When something aligns with what you already know deep inside, it can feel strangely familiar. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, just quietly familiar. Like something settling into place after being missing for a long time. And if this message feels familiar to you, it may be because your intuition recognizes something within it. It may be because it speaks to something you have already been sensing for a while. It may remind you of thoughts or feelings you could not fully explain before, but that were always there in the background. As this moment moves closer in your life, there is something important to remember. There is no need to force anything. There is no need to rush answers out of fear. There is no need to create pressure where patience is still needed. Life often unfolds at its own pace, and understanding arrives when the timing is right, not when it is forced. Allow things to unfold naturally. Allow people to come to their own understanding in their own time. Allow honesty to arrive when it is ready. Because truth that comes naturally carries a different kind of strength. It feels real, it feels grounded, it feels lasting, not temporary or pushed. Or when it finally appears, you may realize something important. Your intuition was not only sensing connection or emotion, it was also sensing timing. It was sensing that certain truths could only become visible when the right conditions were in place, when both people were ready to face them. And readiness changes everything about how truth is received and understood. As you continue moving forward, there is another layer to this experience. The biggest shift may not actually happen in the situation itself. The biggest shift may happen within you. After truth is spoken, you may notice a quiet sense of calm spreading through your life. Thoughts that used to feel loud may begin to soften. Questions that used to repeat in your mind may start to lose their intensity. The need to constantly analyze everything begins to fade slowly. This happens because clarity has a strong effect on the mind. Uncertainty creates tension. Unanswered questions create pressure. The unknown demands emotional energy. But when understanding finally arrives, that pressure starts to release. You may feel lighter, you may feel more present, you may feel more connected to yourself again. You might even notice that old memories start to feel different. Situations that once felt confusing may suddenly make more sense. Conversations that once felt incomplete may reveal a deeper meaning. Even silences that once felt painful may begin to feel understandable in a new way. This does not pull you backward. It helps free you from carrying emotional weight that no longer needs to be carried. From that point forward, a new chapter begins in your life. A chapter built on awareness instead of confusion. A chapter built on honesty instead of guessing. A chapter built on choice instead of emotional uncertainty. That kind of foundation changes the way you experience everything. When you're standing in clarity, you no longer feel the same need for constant reassurance. You no longer feel driven to analyze every message or interaction. You no longer search for hidden meanings in every pause or silence. Your nervous system begins to settle. Your mind becomes quieter, your heart becomes steadier. Even if questions still exist, they no longer feel threatening. They no longer control your emotions or shake your stability, because now you are standing in something stronger. You are standing in truth. And truth creates a kind of stability that uncertainty can never provide. You begin to understand something very important. You can move through uncertainty without losing yourself in it. You no longer feel the need to control every outcome. You no longer feel responsible for forcing clarity into existence. Instead, you trust yourself more deeply. You trust your ability to handle what comes next. You trust your timing. You trust your judgment. And because of that trust, life starts to feel different. There is less pressure, less urgency, less fear. You no longer believe that every answer must come immediately or that every question must be solved right away. You begin to understand that some things reveal themselves only when the time is right. This realization does not just change how you see one situation, it changes how you relate to yourself. You start to respect your intuition more deeply, not as something mysterious, but as a quiet form of intelligence that has been guiding you all along. You begin to notice how often it has helped you before. How many times it pointed you in a direction before your logical mind could fully understand what was happening. You start to see that it was never absent. It was always there, working quietly in the background, helping you navigate what you were going through.